There is in every human heart a restless impatience, a hunger for answers now, a yearning for doors to open the very moment we knock. We live in a world that has taught us that delay is failure, that waiting is weakness, and that the faster a thing arrives, the better it must be. And yet, the author of time himself often chooses to keep his hand hidden until the hour is right. The difficulty is that his clock rarely matches ours, and what feels like a denial is often preparation. What feels like a silence is often a carefully measured pause. To trust God's timing is to admit that we do not see the full picture, but we believe the artist is painting it with flawless precision. Consider the seed buried beneath the soil. If it were to reason with itself, it might imagine that being covered in darkness is the end of its story, that the weight pressing down upon it is punishment. But the seed's burial is not its death, it is its beginning. Only after the right number of days, only after the patient soaking of the rains and the steady warmth of the sun, does the green shoot break forth. What would happen if the seed demanded to be a flower overnight? It would not blossom but break. So it is with us. We press for tomorrow's fruit before we have endured today's season of roots. But God, in His wisdom, refuses to let us ruin ourselves with haste. We imagine time as a river we are caught in, rushing endlessly forward, carrying us whether we like it or not. But God stands outside the river. He sees its source and its end. To Him, the bend ahead is as clear as the waters we tread now. When He asks us to wait, it is not because He has forgotten us, but because He knows precisely what awaits us around the corner, and He is weaving every thread to meet us there. To distrust His timing is to say that we, with our momentary eyesight, know more than the One who sees eternity in a single glance, and yet waiting is not a passive thing. Trusting God's timing is not folding our arms and muttering through clenched teeth while the hours drag by. It is an active surrender, a posture of readiness. The soldier who waits for the commander's signal does not sleep on the battlefield. He sharpens his sword, he prepares his heart. He stands alert for the moment the call is given. So too must we treat our waiting. It is not wasted time. It is training time. What feels like delay may be the very season in which we are being equipped to bear the weight of the answer when it comes. Our trouble is that we confuse clocks with crowns. We believe that the sooner we receive the thing we desire, the more glorious it will be. But crowns are not made quickly. Gold must be refined in fire. Gems must be cut with patience. And the shaping of a king or queen is not done in haste. If the throne is given before the heart is ready, it will destroy both the throne and the one who sits upon it. God does not withhold to punish. He withholds to protect. He knows that an answered prayer at the wrong time can wound more deeply than an unanswered prayer ever could. Imagine the child tugging at the hand of his father, begging to cross the street while carriages still rush past. The child sees only the sweet shop across the way. The father sees the danger of moving too soon. The child may cry, he may think himself unloved, but the father who holds him back is the father who saves his life. If this is true of earthly love, how much more of heavenly love? To trust God's timing is to believe that even His not yet is spoken with a tenderness that guards us from harm. And let us remember, there are times when what seems like delay is in fact mercy. Had every one of our prayers been answered at once, had every longing been met without pause, we would be surrounded not with blessings, but with burdens we were unfit to carry. The unripe fruit may glitter in the sun, but bite into it too soon and it will sour the mouth. God does not wish to give us spoiled fruit. He waits for the harvest season, and though we stamp our feet in the field, He knows what flavor we will taste if we rush to pluck it. So, perhaps the truest form of trust is not merely to believe that God will answer, but to believe that whenever He chooses to answer will be the perfect time. It is to rest in the knowledge that the Creator of galaxies, who hung the stars with flawless order, is not clumsy with the details of our lives. If He can keep the planets in their courses, He can surely keep your life in His. God's delays are not denials. His timing is preparation for what we cannot yet carry. When we say that God's delays are not denials, what we are really acknowledging is that our perspective on time is far too narrow to capture the vastness of God's design. We live in seconds and minutes, we count days and years, but God measures in eternity. What to us feels like an unbearable pause is to Him a carefully appointed moment in the unfolding of a story that stretches far beyond what we can see. When He asks us to wait, it does not mean He has turned His back, nor does it mean that He has rejected our cry. It means He is preparing both the gift and the one who will receive it. For a gift given too soon can become a curse, while a gift given in season becomes a blessing beyond measure. Imagine a child who longs to drive a carriage. The desire may be real, the excitement may be pure, but if the reins are placed in those small hands too early, disaster follows. The delay is not cruelty, it is love. In the same way, God withholds certain answers until we are strong enough to hold them without breaking under their weight. The human heart often struggles with this because we equate waiting with being forgotten. When prayers go seemingly unanswered, we imagine that heaven is silent because heaven is indifferent. Yet all throughout history, delay has been the very tool God uses to refine His people. Abraham was promised descendants more numerous than the stars, yet he waited decades before Isaac was born. Joseph dreamt of leadership while still a boy, yet spent years in pits and prisons before the palace. David was anointed king, but spent long seasons fleeing for his life before he ever touched the throne. In each case, the delay was not denial, it was formation. It was the hidden work of shaping character, deepening trust, and strengthening faith, so that when the promise finally arrived, it would not destroy the one who received it. The delay was never wasted. It was the soil in which endurance and maturity could grow. There is also the matter of alignment. Sometimes our prayers are good, but the world around us is not yet arranged to receive them. Just as a playwright must set the stage before the actors speak their lines, God orchestrates events so that when the curtain rises, every detail fits with perfect harmony. The delay, then, is often less about us being ready and more about circumstances being woven together. If we were to rush God's hand, we would tear the threads before the pattern was complete. The beauty of His design requires patience, and though we only see tangled strands while we wait, in time the full tapestry is revealed. Consider also how often delay exposes the true motives of the heart. When a request is not answered immediately, we are forced to ask whether our desire is for God Himself or merely for the thing He can give us. Waiting purifies longing. It sifts out selfish ambition and reveals whether we would still follow God even if the gift never came. In this way, delay protects us from idolatry. It keeps us from worshiping the blessing rather than the one who blesses. If God answered every prayer instantly, we might come to treat Him as a vending machine, inserting faith and expecting rewards. But His pauses remind us that He is not under our control. We are under His care. In the natural world, we accept that processes take time. We do not dig up a seed the day after planting to see if it has sprouted. We trust that beneath the soil something is happening unseen. We do not demand that winter turn to spring overnight. We know that the frost must first soften, the ground must thaw, and only then will blossoms appear. Yet in our spiritual lives we grow impatient, unwilling to believe that the same God who ordered seasons and cycles also ordains the rhythms of our lives. His delays are the winters that prepare for spring, the dark soil that hides the miracle of growth. To resist them is to resist the very means by which He matures us. There is also mercy in God's delays, though it may not feel like mercy in the moment. Sometimes what we ask for with tears and fervor would crush us if granted too soon. Success without humility, influence without integrity, love without maturity, these can undo a soul. God, in His wisdom, spares us from such premature gifts. He knows that saying yes too early can harm us, and so His loving answer is wait. The delay, then, is not evidence of rejection but of protection. It is a father shielding his child until the time is right. And beyond our individual lives, there is the mystery of how God's timing intersects with others. The answer to one person's prayer may depend on the obedience of another, or on a series of events that must first unfold. Our impatience does not see these connections, but God is not working on a single thread. He is weaving an entire fabric of history. To demand immediate answers is to disregard the delicate interweaving of countless lives. His delays hold us within a story much larger than our own, a story that only He can tell with perfect order. So when we are tempted to believe that delay equals denial, we must remember that time itself belongs to God. He is never late because He stands outside the clock. The one who created beginnings and endings cannot be bound by our schedules. His pauses are not signs of neglect, but instruments of grace. Every delay has within it the seed of preparation, shaping us into people capable of carrying the promises we long for. To trust this is to rest even when the wait is long, to believe that silence is not abandonment, and to hold fast to the truth that God's timing is always deliberate, always wise, and always good. Waiting on God is not wasted time, but a season of shaping, strengthening, and readiness. Waiting on God is not wasted time, but a season of shaping, strengthening, and readiness. The human instinct is to view waiting as a void, an empty stretch where nothing meaningful happens, a barren gap between desire and fulfillment. Yet, in the economy of God, nothing is ever wasted. The pauses in our journey are not idle moments, but workshops where the soul is refined, the heart is deepened, and the character is forged into something resilient enough to carry the weight of destiny. Just as the athlete trains unseen in the quiet hours before the competition, so the believer is prepared in hidden seasons of waiting for what lies ahead. When we find ourselves waiting, our first impulse is often frustration. We think that the lack of visible progress means the story is stalled, but that is a narrow vision. Beneath the surface, invisible roots are spreading. The tree does not shoot upward until its foundation beneath the soil has reached sufficient depth to sustain its growth. In the same way, God uses waiting to drive our roots deeper into trust, dependence, and humility. Without that hidden root system, the storms of life would topple us the moment we grow tall. Waiting ensures that when growth comes, it is stable and enduring, not shallow and fleeting. It is in waiting that faith is tested, and true faith is not merely belief in God's existence, but trust in His timing. The ease of belief lies in the moments when prayers are answered quickly, when provision arrives on schedule. But faith matures when there is no answer in sight, when days stretch into months and months into years, and still the soul whispers, "I will trust." In that crucible, faith becomes more than sentiment. It becomes substance. Waiting stretches faith like a muscle, and just as muscles grow stronger through resistance, so faith grows deeper through delay. The season of waiting is also a season of stripping away illusions. We learn that we cannot manipulate outcomes, that we are not in control, that the world does not bend to our timelines. This can feel like loss, but in truth it is freedom. For when we release the burden of control, we find rest in the one who does control all things. Waiting reorients the soul, shifting its gaze from self-effort to divine dependence. In the silence of delay, we discover the stillness where God whispers, reminding us that He is the author, not we. Such awareness is not learned in moments of immediate fulfillment. It is carved into us only by the slow work of time. Consider the craftsman who shapes clay upon the wheel. The clay does not rush the hands that mold it, nor can it hasten the firing of the kiln. If removed too soon, the vessel crumbles when put to use. The craftsman knows the exact moment when the clay has been hardened enough to endure its purpose. So it is with God and the human heart. He places us in seasons that feel like stillness, but every moment of waiting is shaping us on His wheel. He is smoothing our rough edges, strengthening our structure, making us fit for the purpose He has in mind. The waiting is not absence of work, it is the very process of becoming. Waiting also reveals what we treasure most. When answers are delayed, when desires are unmet, we must face the question of whether God Himself is enough or whether our joy depends solely on the gift. The wilderness has a way of stripping distractions, leaving us face to face with this truth. If in the waiting we come to love the giver more than the gift, then the waiting has already succeeded in its work. We emerge not empty but full, not bitter but anchored in a deeper love. There is a hidden beauty in the way waiting trains patience. Patience is not mere endurance, but the quiet strength to remain steadfast without despair. It is easy to confuse activity with progress, but the soul that learns patience discovers that progress can happen in silence, unseen, slow as the turning of seasons. This patience is not weakness, it is strength under restraint, the kind of strength that can weather disappointment without collapsing. When God allows us to wait, He is planting patience into the soil of our being, knowing that such patience will bear fruit in every future trial. Moreover, waiting often places us in positions to serve, to grow in compassion and empathy for others. A hurried life seldom has time to notice the struggles of those around us, but waiting slows our pace and opens our eyes. In our own delays, we begin to understand the delays of others. We find ourselves more tender, more gracious, more ready to extend encouragement. The strength we gain in waiting is not for ourselves alone. It becomes a gift we offer to others who must endure their own seasons of delay. There is a mystery, too, in how waiting aligns us with divine timing. We may think of it as wasted hours, but in truth, it synchronizes us with the rhythm of God's purposes. The runner who jumps ahead of the starting gun disqualifies himself. Only the one who waits for the signal runs rightly. God's timing ensures that we step into the race at the exact moment our stride will carry us to the finish. Waiting keeps us from stumbling into opportunities unprepared or arriving at destinations before they are ready to receive us. It is the unseen hand ensuring we are in step with eternity's cadence. So the season of waiting is not an empty hallway between closed doors. It is a classroom, a workshop, a field where endurance is planted and faith is watered. It is the hidden forge where strength is hammered out of weakness. It is the place where self fades and surrender grows. To call it wasted is to misunderstand the very nature of God, who wastes nothing and who turns even delay into preparation. The waiting is not idle, it is intentional, and it carries within it the unseen shaping of souls into vessels strong enough to bear the answers when they finally come. An answered prayer at the wrong time can harm us, but God's perfect timing protects and fulfills us. An answered prayer at the wrong time can harm us, but God's perfect timing protects and fulfills us. This truth may be difficult for the human heart to embrace, for when we long for something deeply, the desire itself convinces us that sooner is always better. Yet desire is not the same as readiness, and longing is not the same as capacity. There are moments when what we ask for may in itself be good, even noble, yet to receive it outside of the season God has appointed would do more damage than blessing. Like fruit plucked before its ripening, it may appear beautiful on the surface, but taste bitter within. God, in His mercy, withholds not because He delights in our frustration, but because He knows that timing is the soil in which blessings either flourish or rot. Imagine the builder who lays bricks without allowing the foundation to fully set. The structure may rise quickly, and to the eye it appears impressive, but the first storm will expose its weakness. The fault is not in the bricks, but in the haste. In the same way, a marriage entered too early, a responsibility assumed too soon, a success granted without maturity, all of these can collapse under pressure. God withholds not because the blessing is unfit, but because the foundation is not ready to sustain it. His delays are safeguards against collapse, not denials of goodness. It is often in hindsight that we see the wisdom of His timing. What we once thought was cruel postponement later reveals itself as kindness. We remember prayers we once begged to be answered, doors we begged to be opened, and looking back, we see how disastrous it would have been had those prayers been granted in that moment. The unanswered prayer of yesterday often becomes the gratitude of today. What felt like divine silence was in fact divine protection. In this light, we begin to understand that God's no or not yet is every bit as loving as His yes. God's perfect timing also ensures that blessings do not become burdens. There is a weight to answered prayer, a responsibility to every gift. Influence requires character, success demands humility, love requires selflessness. To receive such things without the inner strength to sustain them is to invite crushing pressure. The blessing that should lift us ends by breaking us. In His wisdom, God delays until the heart is tempered, until humility has deepened, until patience has grown strong enough to bear the answer without pride or ruin. The waiting is therefore not punishment but preparation, a shield against being destroyed by the very thing we thought would save us. We see this in the stories of those who rose too quickly without readiness. The fame that devours, the wealth that corrupts, the opportunities that overwhelm, these are reminders that timing is as vital as the gift itself. A crown placed on the head of a child is not a reward but a burden too heavy to carry. God refuses to hand us crowns before we have shoulders strong enough to bear them. His timing ensures that what was meant to elevate us does not undo us. There is also a wider perspective to consider. God's timing protects not only us but those around us. An answered prayer may intersect with the lives of others, and if granted too soon, it could harm them as well. The job we long for may require a team not yet assembled. The relationship we desire may involve another heart still being healed. The opportunity we seek may depend on circumstances not yet in place. God's timing is not selfish. It is communal. It weaves together the lives of many, ensuring that when the blessing comes, it blesses all and not just one. Consider the farmer who waits for the harvest. The grain may look ripe under the sun, but only he knows the right moment when the kernels are ready for gathering. To harvest too early is to waste the crop. To harvest too late is to lose it. Timing is the hinge on which the harvest swings. God is the perfect farmer of our souls. He knows the precise moment when the fruit of our prayers is ready to be reaped. If He waits, it is because He is guarding the harvest from being spoiled. In His perfect timing, fulfillment carries a sweetness that cannot be manufactured by human haste. When the answer finally arrives, when the door finally opens, we find not only the blessing, but also the maturity to appreciate it. A child who receives a gift too early may discard it thoughtlessly, but one who has waited cherishes it all the more. God's timing does not only give us the gift, it gives us the capacity for gratitude, the eyes to see its worth, the humility to receive it rightly. The delay seasons the heart so that when the fulfillment comes, it is not wasted. This truth also reframes our disappointments. Every time a prayer is delayed, we have a choice, to see it as rejection or to see it as protection. If we believe that God is good, we must believe that His timing is part of His goodness. He is not careless with His children. He does not dangle blessings before us to mock us. His every pause is purposeful. His every delay carries intention. To trust this is to rest even when understanding eludes us, to believe that the timing is not random but tailored with precision to both our need and our capacity. An answered prayer at the wrong time can wound us in ways we cannot foresee, but God sees. His perfect timing is the shield that guards us from such wounds, the wisdom that governs the pace of our lives. Fulfillment is not only about what we receive, but when we receive it. And in this mystery lies the mercy of God's delays. What feels like waiting is in truth protection. What feels like silence is in truth orchestration. And what feels like postponement is in truth preparation for the fullness that only comes when the hour is right.